Shalom everybody, hope you're doing well, hope your week was great, getting ready for Shabbat here in Eretz Yisrael. And we're starting the fourth book of the Torah called Bamidbar. And we know we've said so many times before that from every single thing, every word, every letter, every nuance in the Torah, we can learn something, we can extract ideas, teachings that could benefit our lives. And even the names of the books, even the names of the Parshiot, of the Torah portions. And this week's Torah portion named after this book, as it's the first Parsha of the book, Parshat Bamidbar, right? So what does it mean, Bamidbar? It means in the desert, because it begins off by saying, Vayomer Hashem el Moshe, Bamidbar Sinai, right? That God is talking to Moshe, to Moses, in the desert of Sinai. Right? And we know also that in English, the name of this book is called Numbers. Now, it seems a little strange. How did we get from desert to Numbers? What's the correlation? Is there a correlation at all? And on the surface, it doesn't seem like there's any connection between in the desert and Numbers. But I think if we look underneath the surface, we discover something incredibly powerful. So first of all, why is it in the Midbar? Because we know the Bnei Israel, the children of Israel, they've been traveling and they will continue to travel through the desert for up to 40 years before they go into the land of Israel. Right? Why is it called Numbers? Because there's lots of accountings, lots of numbering, counting happening in this week's Torah portion and the future ones of this book, counting the people of Israel and various other things. Right, so those names make sense in terms of what's going on in the Torah at this point in the story. But why such different names? Why in Hebrew it's in the desert and why in English it's Numbers? So what's the connection? We said this last year, but I feel like it's such a powerful teaching and I want to share it again. What does it mean to be in the desert? Typically when we go to the desert, when we think of the desert, we think of a place that's totally empty, void of life, open, vast, quiet, silent, nothing really happening there, typically we think. Right? But when we go there, or even when we think about it, we understand that the Midbar, that the desert is a very powerful place. Because in that silence, and in that emptiness, in that nothingness, in the place where we feel totally exposed and totally raw, and maybe even insecure because we're not so sure who we are in this place and what this place is, but from that place we can find our own sense of place and our own sense of self. So in that place of emptiness and nothingness and silence, we can hear our own voice even better, even stronger, even louder. And from that nothingness comes our somethingness, right? Our sense of who we are, our sense of identity in the world. Oftentimes we know in the stories of the Jewish people, starting in the Torah itself, that the main leaders, the leaders of the generation, spent so much time on their own in the deserts, right? And as a result, knew very well who they were. And once they knew who they were, they're able to become who they need to become and do what they need to do in this world. So from the Midbar, from the desert, we understand who we are. And once we understand who we are, so now I can stand up and now I can be counted. Right, the English name of this week's Torah portion and this book, the fourth book of the Torah. So from the desert comes my ability. My ability to be counted is born in the desert. I can say, yes, this is who I am. I understand to some level, to some extent, right now at this point in my life, who I am and who I could be and what I could be doing in this world. And then I can stand up with both pride and humility and say, yeah, this is who I am and this is what I want to accomplish in the world. And this is what the world is even waiting for me to do. Right? Because we know that every single one of us, each and every single individual in this world is here for a different purpose, here for a different reason, here to give something different and unique and beautiful to the world. Right? And each one of us counts. And when we're counted, we recognize that. We recognize that of others, and they recognize that of us. That we are unique and we are special and we have something very powerful to share with the world. So again, this idea that being born from the desert, our time in the desert, whether it's physical or mental or spiritual, that we can come to a better sense and understanding of who we are. Right? Shabbat is a desert on some level. It's a desert in time. Even if we're not physically finding ourselves in the desert, we can be in the most urban and suburban of environments. But Shabbat comes and it brings us into a place and into a time where we could utilize that time as if we're in the desert. It's a time away, it's a time separate, it's a time to go inwards. And better understand what happened the past week, what's going on in our lives, who am I, what am I learning about myself from the events of my life. Right? So Shabbat is this desert that we're entering into with Parshat Bamidbar. Right? And one last idea, one last thought, connected also to the time that we're in of Sfirat Omer, counting of the Omer between Pesach and Shavuot, which is coming up in just about a week and a half. We know that on Shavuot, one of the amazing and powerful things about Shavuot is we offer up the new crop of wheat. On Pesach, the second day, we offered up the barley, and on Shavuot, we're offering up the wheat. And it's looked at as an elevation spiritually. Barley is looked at as more coarse, simple food, and chita, the wheat, is looked at as more refined, more elevated food. But during this time, we learned from the Torah, right? It says about this wheat offering that would be offered in Shavuot, "V'hikravtem mincha chadasha laHashem," that we're offering up a new offering to God. Right. So on the very plain, simple level and understanding, where it's talking about the wheat offering that will be offered up or was offered up in the temple in Jerusalem thousands of years ago. But there's an inner aspect of as well. Right? There's always something personal that's relatable to us. And what is that? What is that mincha chadasha? That new offering? That's us. Right? It's new revelations of ourselves. It's new understandings of who we are and who we could be this upcoming year. We're not the same person from year to year. We're not even the same person from week to week. Right? So as we approach Shavuot and we're getting ready to receive the Torah as a nation, we're also getting ready to receive the Torah on a very individual level. What is the Torah saying to me this year? What aspect of myself can I and will I hopefully discover this upcoming year with the new Torah that's coming down? Because we learn that every single year that there's new understanding, new insight. What is the Torah? It's wisdom, it's insight, it's awareness, it's consciousness. Right? And every year there's new Torah coming down, new understandings and consciousness of us and the world around us. So putting all this together, right, we're going into the Midbar to understand who we are, so we can stand up and be counted, so that from year to year we could understand ourselves better and better and better and more fully and more deeply understand what it is we're here to do in this world. Blessings for all of that from the land of Israel, and a sweet Shabbat Shalom. All the best.